First on the agenda.
Commission will now take up the applications for a special one-day license to sell and dispense alcohol beverages, starting with the applicants for the all-alcoholic beverages. Jeremiah Murphy for Saturday, September 9th, from 4 p.m. to 12 midnight. The event is in conjunction with the Mill City Block Party. The location for the alcohol beverage concession is an enclosed area on Middle Street, adjacent to the old court at 29-31 Central. Also, George Bernardo for Saturday, September 30th, from 11 a.m. to 12 midnight. The event is for charity and a motorcycle ride. The outdoor alcohol beverage concession is an enclosed area on Central Street in front of the Four Seasons Restaurant at 373-375 Central Street. There are applicants for beer and wine only, or either one, starting with application by Thomas McCabe, Backstage Concessions, Sheila Green, representative, for Cool's Organization's annual Newcomers Night Party for Thursday, September 7th, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. The event is scheduled to be held at the parking lot of Enterprise Bank on Middle Street, adjacent to the 18 Shattuck Street. Corey Belanger for Ribbon Brewers Tasting Tent on Lot A, adjacent to the Songus Arena, 300 Martin Luther King Way, Saturday, September 9th, from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., and Sunday, September 10th, from 1:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Doreen Manning for Saturday, September 23rd, 7 p.m. to 12 midnight. The event is the Art Roots auction to benefit the Middlesex Beat at the Revolving Museum, 22 Shattuck Street. Mary Schoen Willett for Saturday, September 23rd, from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight. The event is a dance to benefit the individual in need of a wheelchair, to be held at the Holy Family Parish Hall at 122 Andrew Street. Teresa Melito of the Merrimack Repertory Theater, a concession, sales, and service, 30 minutes prior to the theatrical performance, and a 15-minute intermission on days of theatrical performances at the Liberty Hall, 50 East Merrimack Street, with September 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th, October 1, 4th, 5, 6, and 7, 8, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 2006. Those are 19 dates for scheduled performances. And last is Lorene Lucier for Sunday, October 1st, from 12 noon to 6 p.m. The event is the Kerouac 5K road race. Beer beverage concession will be an enclosed area of the sidewalk in front of 197 Market Street at the Dubliner.
Okay, I think there's a couple missing. Could we just start at this side, and would you be kind enough to introduce yourself for the record? I'm sorry?
Mary Willett.
Mary, okay, thank you, Mary. Okay. 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 Oh, I'm sorry, say your name again. Yeah, we're not doing that one right now. You didn't call her, did you?
No, I did not.
Okay. Sorry, ma'am. If you could just wait with, okay.
Mr. Chairman, who we have missing are
Teresa.
Doreen Manning and Teresa Melito of the Merrimack Repertory Theater. So
Okay.
those are two applications.
Okay.
I'm not sure whether we want to take action on this at this
No,
time.
We'll wait and see if they come in later. Okay. How many of you have been before us before? Put your hand up. Everybody, okay? All right, for the viewing audience, you're going to understand. I want you to thoroughly understand. This is your license. It does not, but can you introduce yourself, ma'am? Teresa Melito from Merrimack. Okay, thank you, Teresa. Have you been before us, Teresa? No. No. That even makes it better. See, it doesn't, so now I don't feel like I'm saying it for nothing. The others have heard this speech. I'm going to say it. I'm sure that I just want to remind them. You have to understand that this is your license. This is not the Merrimack Theater. This is not any other organization or anyone that you're raising money for. You're getting this liquor license in your name. Your name's going to appear on it. Therefore, guess what? You, and you solely, are responsible. You're responsible to make sure that people stay within the fenced-in area. You're responsible to make sure that everyone's 21. You know, sometimes we have these events, we're raising money for charity. Somebody says, oh, buy Mary a drink, she's 19, get her a sombrero. You get Mary a sombrero and she falls down the stairs, believe it or not, the people are not going to stand up and say, you know, I bought Mary that sombrero. They're going to say, you sold Mary that sombrero. And so you're going to be contacted by their lawyer. So it's vitally important that you understand you must maintain controls because you are responsible. Most of you have been here many times before, and fortunately, we haven't had any problems at all. But the commission, a number of years ago, took a stand by which we've decided to give this message, to give it loud and clear, because we are a litigious society. And unfortunately, the moment something goes wrong, unfortunately, most do not accept the blame themselves. They look to someone else to point the finger at and say, you know what? If you didn't run that event, my kid wouldn't have been drinking all those beers, and therefore it's your fault. So you have to be ever vigilant. Your name appears on that permit. Commissioner Finnegan.
Just a couple of things. Mr. Bernardo, your event starts at 11?
Go up to the mic, sir. Make sure you talk into the mic. Pull it down.
They're getting there between 8 and 11, but we'd be nothing outside before 11 o'clock as far as food or drinks.
Okay.
But we asked to close the street because so we could get everybody together, get everybody registered from 8 to 11.
And have you had this event before?
Yes, we had it last year.
Your last year was the first?
Yes.
Okay. Any problem, Sergeant?
No problems.
That's pretty good.
Talking to the mic, Sergeant Trudell, please.
I do ask, though, Mr. Chairman, there's two applicants that have items on for September 9th, and we haven't had any problems with these applicants at all. In the future, I'd just like to see if they could get them in 2 meetings prior to the date of the event, in the event that there's a problem, or we've had a problem with the venue in the past, so we can address the situation. Right now, it's 2 days away from when they want to have that event. So if they could just get their application a little bit ahead of time, in case we have some issues with the city or the police department.
Okay, are you aware of what Sergeant Trudell just said? 2 meetings, 2 of our meetings prior to the event, if possible, especially something of that size. I'm sure that it requires logistically a lot of planning. Any other questions?
No, I'm just curious as to what goes on until midnight. Are you just outdoors till midnight?
We're going to try to have a little DJ going. I mean, last year we brought the DJ in at 10 o'clock.
At 10 o'clock?
At 10 o'clock.
Okay.
And I'll do the same this year.
Any problems with the neighbors?
No problems whatsoever.
Okay.
We had an officer on duty. We had some food outside and some drinks.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I'd like to ask if for a rainy date, if it doesn't go through, if we could have the 7th of October. I was going to have it in my paperwork, but somehow it got lost that date, if that's okay.
He wants a rainy day, October 7th, if that's canceled. Sure, it's okay with us. You just have to notify Mr. Nguyen whether or not the event has been held
Yes,
right after the original date.
correct.
Okay?
Thank you.
Nope, nothing else.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Good luck.
Thank you.
Hope you may all make $1 million.
Just for the record, Mr. Chairman, for purposes of the event that's scheduled for this evening, Thursday, September 7th, Cool's Organization's Newcomers Night, they needed to secure permission from a private property owner, and which they have done, and it's been acknowledged that there would be alcohol beverages served at the location, which is the Enterprise Bank parking lot, and also that there is insurance where the city of Lowell is co-insured as well.
Great. Next.
Now the commission will take up the matter of the applications for amplified outdoor public entertainment, starting with LZ Nunn, the executive director of the Cultural Organization of Lowell, Cool's annual Newcomers Night Party. the band with sound system for Thursday, September 7th, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. The event is scheduled to be held in the parking lot of Enterprise Bank on Middle Street, adjacent to 18 Shattuck. Also representing the City of Lowell, LZ Nunn has filed 2 applications for upcoming Mill City block parties, where there will be a band with sound system in an enclosed area, Saturday, September 9th, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., and also for Saturday, September 23rd, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Jerry Murphy of the Old Court, 2931 Central Street, for Saturday, September 9th, from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight, in conjunction with the Mill City Block Party. The venue for band is an enclosed public area on Middle Street, adjacent to the Old Court at 2931 Central. Adrian De Stefano of Cafe Paradiso, 45 Palmer Street, for Saturday, September 9th, from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight. The venue for soloist is the Sidewalk Cafe at 45 Palmer Street. She has also applied for another scheduled Mill City Block Party, which is for Saturday, September 23rd, also for hours at 9 p.m. to 12 midnight, and the venue for soloist. Annie St. Onge, Special Events Coordinator for the City Manager's Office, for Saturday, September 9th, from 12 noon to 12 midnight, and Sunday, September 10th, from 12 noon to 6 p.m. The amplification of sound is for bands in conjunction with the Ribbon Brews Festival, Lot A, adjacent to the Songus Arena. And this would also include, Mr. Chairman, the tent reserved for the Brewers Tasting Event. Sharon Hall of the Lowell First Church of the Nazarene, 1195 Arnhem Avenue, for Friday, September 15th, from 10 a.m. to 12 midnight, which will include a sound test during daylight hours. Music will be bluegrass with string, drum, horn, guitar, electric, and acoustical, and this would be from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. And also George Bernardo for Saturday, September 30th, with the rain date request of Saturday, October 7th, 11 a.m. to 12 midnight. Disc jockey with sound system in an enclosed area on Central Street in front of the Four Seasons Restaurant, 375 Central.
Thank you. Introduce yourself for the record, please.
LZ Nunn from the Cultural Organization of Lowell.
Okay,
Adrian De Stefano from Cafe Paradiso.
okay,
Sharon Hall, Lowell First Church of the Nazarene.
okay. Okay, so,
Mr. Chairman, myself as well.
Andy, okay. Is George?
I think Mr. Bernardo left. I think he assumed we approved it when we approved his alcohol license. He was here on the alcohol license on the first row.
Okay. Okay, how many of you had amplified sound permits before? Put your hand up. Okay? It's real simple. The City of Lowell has adopted a sound ordinance. We're trying our utmost to make people understand that if you keep your neighbors awake, if you get the people in the houses and the apartments around your area upset and they start writing, they're going to clamp down on this, and it's only going to take one person to spoil it for all. We didn't have any complaints the last block party, did we?
None with the block party, Mr. Chairman, and we haven't had any complaints with the sound with these applicants at all.
With all, at all, okay.
I have no questions. I make a motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes, you're all set. Next on the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, under the matter of old and new business, there is the decision of the Mambo Grill affecting its outdoor license for the sale and service of alcohol beverages and food, where the license had been suspended for 30 days. That would affect only the sidewalk seating area, starting today, September 7th, through October 7th of this, for 30 days. This
Okay,
was a decision you would...
Counsel, the
Commissioner acted
problem
on-
is that they're filming this on television, so we have to stay back at the lectern. I'm sorry, my apologies.
So this matter had been reviewed in, on the last scheduled meeting, which was August 24th. At that time, the licensee failed to appear,
Sit down.
and the commission proceeded to take action.
Could I first
just address the commission with regards to their failure to appear on the 24th, I believe. The letter was sent out on August 11th. They left on vacation August 11th. They did not get back into town until August 26th. Someone did sign for the letter at the establishment because the business was open. There was a person in charge to manage the place, but they did not have the right to open mail that was directed to the grill. That right is kept exclusively by the two principals, Matt and Frankie Dakota, who are here with me today. And I believe when she got back, and she did, Ms. Dakota, when she got back and did open up the letter, I think she did make a call to the License Commission to acknowledge receipt.
Okay. It seems like, I think the main reason that we called them in, Counselor, was because we've had an ongoing complaints through the police department. During the Folk Festival, they were the only place in town that we had any problems with over blocking the sidewalk and causing the pedestrians to go into the street. And since then, there's been a couple of other times, I guess. Sergeant Trudella, the police officers.
Mr. Chairman, there's two officers that are going to testify today, Lieutenant Barry Goldner and Captain Kennedy. Right now, they're involved in an ongoing incident that happened in the South Lowell section of the city, so they're going to be a little bit tardy. If you want to continue the meeting or this hearing on this matter, either to the next meeting or 10, 15 minutes, they might be able to appear. If not, we could go forward, if you like.
What's your pleasure? What do you want?
All right, why don't we, Mr. Panagiotakis,
Yeah.
why don't we take what effect is a second call on this? We'll finish the agenda and come back to you. It's not going to take very long anyway. If in fact the officers don't make it back in time, Sergeant can read the report and we'll go from there.
Yeah, we understand the contents of the report, and that's basically what we're here to address.
Okay.
Okay, thank
To
you.
the commission, so that's fine. Thank you.
Next on the agenda was communication.
Well, Mr. Chairman, matter of an application that was filed for a one-day event at the Elks, which was an event that was held on the grounds outside the club premises. It was an application by Richard Provencher, who failed to appear at the last meeting on August 24th. Though the License Commission was gracious and kind enough to grant the license, Mr. Provencher was advised to appear for the next scheduled meeting, which would be today.
Which would be today.
I sent notice to him on that.
Okay. There again, I think I make a motion to send Mr. Provencher a letter. I take it very serious. We try to cooperate, especially with the Elks Club. It's a fraternal organization. They're trying to do good within the community. I know that they've run this event before, and based on the strength of it, did you have any problems with it? None, okay? But I, for one, and I'll let Commissioner Finnegan speak for himself, I feel very strongly that they should appear. When they want a license, regardless of who they're representing or what they're representing, they should appear before us to make sure they have a thorough understanding of the liability of that license. So I would send Mr. Provencher a letter to the Elks saying the commission will take a long, hard look before we ever grant another license out of courtesy. If he's so inclined.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily interested in having him appear before the next meeting. I agree with Chairman Bayless. It's just unimaginable that he wouldn't appear at this meeting or at the last one. So a letter to that effect, that'll be part of our consideration in future applications is fine.
Do you need a motion on that?
Making the formal motion.
Okay, I'll second it. Send the letter to the Elks.
Mr. Chairman, there's some business that, of a matter to do with the Alcohol Beverages Control Commission. two applications that the Lowell License Commission had approved. The first being an application for a transfer of a liquor license, restaurant license. The Bridge, the Tavern at the Bridge license had been approved for transfer on May 18th to a corporation known as Nairobi Sports Bar LLC. And that matter had been returned to the License Commission office, which had dated August 28th, returned no action. And based on the reason for that decision of the Alcohol Beverages Control Commission being the fact that the investigator, a person by the name of John F. Carey, writes, the applicant has called to say that the financing has fallen through and he will not be continuing with the processing of the license. The lawyer has also sent a letter saying he no longer represents the client, and the recommendation of the investigator at the time, which is August 2nd, returned to the Lowell local licensing board. Mr. Chairman, the License Commission Office has had no communication other than what I've just read and cited from the transferee, Nairobi Sports Bar, or the attorney at the time, Timothy Ebacher of 45 Merrimack Street.
I don't know, but that's the first time we've had that. Usually it's DOR. You know, based on a report from the state investigator, I think we just probably move.
Yeah, I think if it's been returned to us, Mr. Fenton, if it's been returned to us with no action taken, the existing license with the prior owner remains in effect, and there's nothing we have to do, I assume.
I would assume that to be correct, Commissioner. That's what I was just asking the sergeant, if they were still in operation over at Bridge Street. I assume they probably are, under the existing license and in the name of the existing manager.
So
As
that'll
long
go
as
through the
those
end of the-
conditions continue to exist, then the license could remain in effect.
Okay, so I don't think there's any action we
We
have to
don't need
take.
to take a motion or anything to throw this away to whatever.
Well, the application, you might want to,
Would it be appropriate, though, not for the commission to move to cancel the action they approved May 18th?
I would think that would be appropriate, yes, in light of, as long as there's, you have some verification for what you received, I guess came from ABCC. So.
Yeah, my only concern is somebody told somebody at ABCC
Yeah, I
that,
see.
we don't have any written communication from either the attorney or the transferee that that's so. So why don't I make a motion that we send a letter to counsel for the transferee, Mr. Ebacher, and ask him to advise us what the status is of the application with respect to this property at the ABCC. Then we get it in writing and we can cancel if it's appropriate.
And I assume that the new, or the alleged transferee is not operating this business, that it is the
Right.
old owner.
Right.
I'll second that. Get it in writing from their attorney to us, just so we can clean it up. Okay. What's the other one?
Mr. Chairman, there's also another communication, also from the Alcohol Beverages Control Commission, pertaining to a corporation known as Shabana Inc., this being a transfer of a beer and wine restaurant license from the corporation Bombay Mahal Restaurant Inc. Communication states the following. According to the investigator for the Alcohol Beverages Control Commission, Paul Capurso, stated on August 22nd, the applicant needs to provide the following. Persons listed in the purchase and sale are not persons listed on the application. There is no lease attached, and provide a flow chart showing what persons are involved and how much each has interest. Furthermore, there is an issue to do with the Department of Revenue, and that the matter had been remanded back to the License Commission, failure to comply with the tax laws in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So their attorney is an individual by the name of Caleb Pan, works at 175 Central Street, the law office of Saab.
Send him a notice also.
Yeah, I mean, arguably, if it's not approved down in Boston, it's of no effect anyway, but for purposes of our records, why don't we send a letter to make a motion that we send a letter to the attorney, again, inquiring the status of the application, including the issues with respect to DOR.
Second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Back to Mambo Grill.
Okay, Commission will now take up the matter of the Mambo Grill.
Could you introduce yourself for the record?
Attorney
After the-
Attorney Steve Panagiotakis, I represent the Mambo Grill.
Frankie Dakota of the Mambo Grill.
Matthew Dakota, Mambo Grill.
Mr. Chairman,
Sergeant
this has
Trudell,
to- this
your
has
mic
to-
on?
Mic is on, Mr. Chairman.
Good.
This has to do with the Mambo Grill and the seating on the sidewalk. Lieutenant Barry Goldner and Captain Kennedy have had a couple of different instances with the Mambo Grill, particularly around the Folk Festival, where the seating was not positioned in the correct manner to allow the flow of pedestrian traffic. They filed a complaint through Deputy Dennis Cormier, and Captain Kennedy is here today to answer any questions.
Okay. Captain Kennedy, could you go up to the mic, please, because they can't pick you up on television sitting there. Or I don't know why, but they said. Could you just tell us in your own words the situation?
Well, Mr. Chair, for the second year in a row, we had a problem with the Mambo Grill. Last year, we had live music that completely encroached almost upon the street, forcing pedestrians out on the roadway. At that time, we didn't take any enforcement action. You know, we understood the fact that the Mambo Grill had gone to great lengths to hire a band and things of that nature. However, we did communicate to them at that time that, you know, it's not a situation that could happen again. Fast forward to this year's Folk Festival, myself and Lieutenant Goldner observed the Mambo Grill to have the outdoor seating in such a way that pedestrians were forced out onto the live roadway, being Merrimack Street. When we brought it to the attention of the owners of the Mambo Grill, they were very displeased with the fact that we did bring it to their attention, and they made it clear to us that they were under the understanding or impression that they were well within their purview to do that, notwithstanding the fact that we explained to them the folks were forced to go out into the live roadway. So it was a situation that we got resolved for the evening. It was raining that particular evening, Friday night, so we didn't have as much pedestrian flow as we normally would on a Friday night folk festival. But the fact of the matter remains that because of the actions that the Mambo Grill took, pedestrians were forced out into the roadway. It's as simple as that. And when they were asked to discontinue that practice, the owners, you know, as I said, were very, very displeased with the recommendations that we gave to them. So, and that's the reason why we're here today.
Okay. Was this just at the Folk Festival?
Well, the Mambo Grill generally has seating on both sides. They have it directly pertinent to their building, and there's a walkway for pedestrians to get by. Then there are additional tables out by the curb. It's not as tight as it was that particular evening, but again, you know, we probably do need a clarification as to what they're entitled to do and what they're not entitled to do.
Okay.
We generally don't take any enforcement action at that time of the year because of the fact that the pedestrians aren't actually forced out into the roadway. That particular evening, pedestrians were forced out into the roadway, and that's why we had to take enforcement action.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. Okay.
The only, just let me just start with regards to Lieutenant Kennedy saying forced out into the roadway. Quite frankly, there was an opening on both sides of where the Mambo Grill had their seating station. People, unfortunately, at one end, where Gary's Ice Cream was, not on Friday so much, but on Saturday and Sunday, because of the permanent structures in front of Gary, it made it difficult for them to walk alongside. So they would go out into the street and voluntarily continue down the street. There was an opening for them to come back in and walk through the 4-foot aisleway that the Mambo Grill provided. In fact, on Friday night, within 10 minutes after the police officers came and told the owners about what they had as problems with their seating, they corrected it. They moved the barrier that was at the corner, which they thought was the right thing to do because they were trying to protect the people that were sitting there and keeping the drinking within the confines of their area. But they moved that, and they also stationed people outside there to direct people back in. In fact, we have a video showing people walking right through the middle there. There's plenty of room to do that. I have pictures here that I can certainly give to the commission so that they can see what it looked like on that evening. They're good business people. They're actually one of Lowell's business success stories. They're a young couple that one from here, his wife from out of state, but came and settled here and put everything they owned into this business, invested in our downtown. And after 2 years, as you know, most restaurants belly up within the first year. They've gone over 2 years, and they're making a living out of it. Not a huge living at this point, but they're making a living because they're working hard. They work 7 days a week. And for this folk festival, it took them 2 weeks to prepare for it and hire extra personnel to be there. And they put a lot of time and effort into thinking of how to set up the seating arrangement. They basically went with the parameters that they had last year, thinking no one said anything different, this should be appropriate. But what happened was, I don't think Gary was out there last year, so there was difficulty, as I said, with some people coming from one end, coming back onto Merrimack Street because of the permanent structures that are in front of Gary's Ice Cream, and then not coming back onto the sidewalk, just continuing down. But once they put somebody out there within the first hour, and changed the corner configuration so there wasn't a fence there, people started flowing through there. So they weren't forced out there. They voluntarily walked out there if they did. Again, these two people have invested their livelihood in this. As I said earlier, they weren't here for the last meeting only because they were on vacation, and they really didn't get notice because the mail wasn't open until they got back on the 26th. If you want, I can approach with the pictures for the commission. Was last year, which basically allowed them to go right out to the sidewalk. They weren't told any different this year by the city or anybody else until the police officer approached. Yes?
I don't want to disagree with you, Counselor, but we had problems with them last year.
Problems mostly last year, I believe,
with the seating.
Problems last year, I believe, were with the music and where the band was set up, not so much this perimeters and seating.
Excuse me?
I'm sorry, that's all incorrect.
You know, last year was the issue of when the license ended at 10 o'clock as opposed to midnight.
That was one of the issues. There was also an issue, I believe, with where the band was.
No, that's not the issue. Last year, nor what Captain Kennedy said about last year or anything else was the situation last year. Last year, we had applied for a license that only went till 10 o'clock. We were under the understanding that it went till midnight, and Captain Kennedy and Lieutenant Gollner came and told us that we were beyond our limit for time. That was the problem, time. And so we pulled back. That was the problem.
It wasn't a seating problem.
Okay,
that's correct.
What we're trying to. It was not a seating problem. So they thought they were fine with regards to how they set it up this year. As you can see on picture number 2, that is the walkway that was there this year. It's certainly wide enough. I talked to Mr. St. Ange earlier. He said they complied with the ADA requirements. And if you could see on Friday, you could walk straight through. If you see the tent down the end, I believe that's Gary's tent at the end there. And there was a straight line for people to walk down through there. If people weren't forced over onto the sidewalk, off into the street, if they did walk onto the street, again, they did it by their own volition, not because there wasn't anywhere for them to go. Picture number 3, excuse me, is a view from the other side, from John Street up, I guess you'd say. As you can see, you can still see that walkway there, and people actually at the end there that had walked through there. The third picture basically shows the tree, which really is what's caused the problem, the tree in front of Gary's Ice Cream, because it forced people. When Gary's on Saturday and Sunday was more shut off on the sidewalk, it forced people out onto the street because they couldn't continue down the sidewalk. And once they got on the street, they continued. However, the owners of the Mambo Grill stationed people outside at that corner, directing people to come back in. We have a video that we could show the commission that shows people walking right through the middle of their seating arrangement, and there didn't seem to be any problem at that time. So it's, you know, I think some of this is an issue with regards to they feeling that there was a miscommunication last year and that they were being unduly, you know, harassed this year because of what happened last year. And so I think they're uncharacteristically for both Mr. Dakota and I know the police officer, I think the tone was a little combative at the beginning. However, once they were told, they acted and they did what they were supposed to do. They've had their license for almost a couple years now with regards to beer and wine, and they have never had a problem. They're responsible business people, and they you know, obey the laws, and they take it very seriously because, quite frankly, their whole livelihood is into this business. And the last thing they want to do is to have somebody come out of their establishment that's drunk and get in a car accident, or force a pedestrian out on the street to get hit by a car. So I would say when you look at what we're here for regarding the seating arrangements, certainly a suspension, I don't think in this case is warranted. I think that if you balance the equities here, public safety and a friendly business community here in the city of Lowell, and the Folk Festival can make that difficult at times because of the number of people that are coming down. That I think that what needs to be done is more of more communication between the owners, certainly the Mambo Grill in this situation, with the city ahead of time, so that they can have their seating arrangement either approved, so there's nothing left to chance or to misinterpretation, or that the city, as they do on Market Street, and I have a picture here of Market Street, where they allow the businesses to go right out onto the street and close down the street. However, on Friday night, when they had that down on Market Street, even though they had it out onto the street, which is what they're allowed to do, and they had seating out there, for a good period during that time, the street was not closed, and there was traffic right up to where the seating arrangement was. But that's an issue again for the city. But I think, you know, when we look at the totality of what's before us as far as alleged violation, I don't think there really is one. They tried to do what they could to correct whatever the police perceived was a problem for public safety. I think more of the problem here is just a clash of personalities at first, and that certainly is not something that I'm sure Mr. Dakota is happy about. He's a very professional person, and I know the police officers act in a very professional way, and we're very fortunate to have Lieutenant Goldner and Captain Kennedy on our police force, and they do a good job. So I would chalk it up more to miscommunication than them snubbing their noses at the city or saying they're above the law, they can do whatever they want, and certainly snubbing their noses at the commission is not something that they would ever do. They were on vacation when the hearing was here, and they hadn't had notice of it.
Well, certainly, you know, certainly somebody could have go along and had signed for the letter, and I probably don't blame them for not opening it, but I'm sure there was a return address on it that said the Licensing Commission, City Hall, and it would seem to me that you probably should train your people to say, you get something that says Licensing Commission, City Hall, you know, tell us the letter's there. I'm looking at this right now, and I have wasn't there a park bench in front of your place at one time?
Yes.
The city, and what happened to it?
Frankie, you can stand up.
It's still there.
It's still right where the city put it.
Oh, well, it did get moved over, yes.
You moved it, or the city moved it?
I did not move it.
Who moved it?
I'm not sure, but it did get moved over. T.J. McCarthy did say that he was trying to get it moved over during Folk Festival. I did not personally move it.
You didn't move it, but
No,
somebody
I did not,
moved it.
but somebody moved
Got
it.
taken out of the way. Okay. All right. I can see right here, this picture right here really kind of tells the whole story, okay? And I think that we have talked about this, and maybe I tend to agree with you, Counselor, as far as communications, because I think that quite possibly the Folk Festival and the Special Events Coordinator, and I know the License Commission for sure, is next year is going to have a diagram of every place and where they're allowed to put chairs, and it's going to be drawn and posted, and it's going to be at file with their license, so that no more. But what you have here is you have encroached both sides of the sidewalk. And if you're looking at it by law, that side of the sidewalk that's nearest the street should have a totally separate license, because it's not a part of the establishment. It's not, if you're putting a right-of-way down the middle of your, down the middle of the sidewalk, and you're serving alcohol on both sides, that the law says that these were set up to be an extension of the license, so that, much like the people coming in asking for a one-day license, would be the same thing. I would want a one-day license so I could sell, alcoholic beverages out there. Whereas they have, just like so many other places, applied for an extension of their licensed premises to encompass that outdoor area. So therefore, it's completely right off. Let me think, the best example. The best example of it is the Worthen. The Worthen is on one side of the street. They own the parking lot on the other side of the street. When they run an event in that parking lot, they have to get a separate license, because it's not connected to their building. It's not a part of their licensed premises. And so by making folks walk down the middle, I would think, just from a liability standpoint, that, people are walking by, somebody can reach over on the table, grab a drink, and walk off with it, and nobody's got any control over it. I mean, and I'm sure that they try.
Right.
I mean,
Although, just for a second, I just want to clarify, your client's licensed premises the license is set up that way, isn't it?
I believe it is.
The section goes through the middle, yeah.
Yes.
Right? So,
it is.
the
Yes, it is.
4-foot section goes through
Yeah,
the middle of the premises.
My apologies.
And that's what we had last year. That's why, that's the way it was set up last year, too. And no
Weren't
one
they
said
supposed to
that
have
there
this
was a
fence
problem
down?
with the walkway last
They're
year.
supposed to run a fence down here.
Just have it open, I think.
Aren't they supposed to have that enclosed?
Yeah. See, what happened was, Mr. Chairman, is that the city allowed that because of, I believe, because of the permanent structures that are in front. There's a tree, a fire hydrant, and I believe the bench,
And so they don't have to have a fence around that? They don't have to have that area enclosed?
And again, it's enclosed, but not, I know what you're saying, you want the way enclosed.
Right.
Yeah. Again.
That's what I'm
That
saying.
was what their proposal, I think their license did not show that. It shows it as it is now. And also, they, last year during the Folk Festival, no one complained or raised an issue about that walkway being in the middle.
Counsel, I just want to clarify something. First of all, when were these pictures taken that we have
Those were
here?
taken on Friday night.
What time?
About 7:30.
7:30.
After the police officers were
Yes,
there?
after the police,
Okay.
yeah.
The third picture, from what I can see, shows pretty clearly somebody sitting down at the end in the middle of what's supposed to be the walkway and somebody walking around it. Now, I understand somebody could have moved the chair, but the thing that bothers me about this is that I had a very specific I'll let you take a look at that first.
What's that?
It's the angle.
Yeah.
Because that curves around. May we address this?
One second. It seems to be the angle that you're at. There's actually when he comes over where that gentleman is in the white shirt, he can go to his right and he still has a 4-foot walkway.
Yeah, but Counsel, my point is, when Mrs. Dakota came before us for the license, I had a very specific conversation with her. There's no might have been a misunderstanding with the Folk Festival Committee, but I personally had a very specific conversation with her about the 4-foot area, about the fact that the year before there was an issue with people walking out on Merrimack Street, about the fact that Merrimack Street opened and other streets didn't, and she fully understood it. She indicated to me she understood exactly what I was talking about, and that wasn't going to be an issue. The other thing that bothers me is that 2 years in a row now, the police have brought matters before us where they've indicated that when they went to the owner, and this has only happened at the Folk Festival, when you talk about your clients being good business people and running a good business in the city, I think we'd all agree to that. But for some strange reason, Both years for the Folk Festival, there's been an issue. And when the police have gone over there with an enforcement matter a year and a half ago, or a little better than a year ago, to close them at 10 o'clock, which is what their license said on the application they applied for. They said it wasn't fair because other places were open till 12. This year when the police went, excuse me, please don't interrupt me.
See,
Go ahead.
It's okay, that's okay. No, that's okay.
That's exactly what's getting you in trouble, is that attitude. You think it's a big joke. These policemen, they try to talk to you about it. Your counselor's representing you, and you're sitting there. You think this is really funny, but it isn't funny. Because you know what? It's things like that that's going to ruin it for everybody in the downtown area, not just you.
Mr.
We're
Chair.
trying to resolve this. We tried to be courteous about sending you a letter and asking you to come in here. This was no joke.
No one's taking it as a joke, Mr. Chair,
My
believe me.
point, my point, Counsel, is that both years, what I'm telling you, and your client certainly can disagree, and he can disagree,
Sure.
get up and speak, or have you disagree. But what I'm saying to you right now is what we've heard from the police 2 years in a row.
Yes.
Now, he's certainly free to disagree if he thinks that's not correct.
Right.
But I remember that was the issue last year with respect to the 10 o'clock license. According to the letter we have this year, the police report that he said, well, other establishments on other streets were open. Well, those streets were closed. And, you know, I had a very specific discussion with Mrs. Dakota about this in late June or early July. I just don't understand.
Can I just approach?
Let me just finish for 1 sec. I just don't understand how a license holder can get in an argument with the police department over an enforcement matter that they clearly have jurisdiction over. That's my point. I think you people are fine people. I think they run a fine restaurant, you know, and it's been, like you said, it's been a great business. But every year at the Folk Festival, you know, I don't want to see them here after it. I really don't, and I'm sure they don't want to be here.
They do. Can I just approach the commission just to show the diagram?
Certainly.
This is how the seating rate was set up. I think what might have happened, if it did happen, that the gentleman would see maybe we didn't enforce it, but this is how it was last year, basically.
Uh-huh.
This is with this year with the Gary's Ice Cream tent put over. You can see where the tables were set up, when the photos set them up, there was a straight 4-foot sidewalk area for people to walk through. Unfortunately, I think what might have happened, it might have encroached when people sat down, they start to move around, and maybe we didn't supervise it as best we should at that end of the But again, I have a video here that shows people walking through that might give you an even better picture of what was going on that evening, if you care
And is
to
that
look
video
at
from Friday?
Yes, it's on the.
We're happy to look at it, sure.
If you could give us a second to
Sure.
set the computer up.
Sergeant, while they're setting up, do you want to say anything, or do you want to wait?
Approach. Yeah, no, see, that's where they were.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not Gary's Ice Cream. Have you seen these pictures taken by the police department? See this one right here? Yep. They're right across the sidewalk. Yep.
Yes, that's pretty
Yep.
good. That's okay.
TJ McCarthy was standing this way. With the stroller. Invite her business on Friday.
See, this guy blocks it, so you can't see how far out it is on this side. When the people are walking down here, you can't.
They were out of our sidewalk when he moved in. They're out of our space when he moved into the screening.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. License.
So, on these, I don't know what's the concern here?
Yeah, it's, I don't know what this other one is.
This is an employee who's watching the streaming.
Over here is
This
Gary's
blue
thing
marker here on the overlay, that's a tent that Gary has?
Yes, that's where Gary's tent would be, right in front of
Okay.
his ice cream too.
So
We just want to show, what
where's
happened?
Gary's tables in relationship to this? Under the tent? Okay. Okay, so it didn't impede the traffic, okay. All right.
You know, counsel, from my standpoint, from the looks of the video, from the looks of the pictures we've seen, and I understand in some of the black and white photos we got, there are some cords up, some separating, I don't know what you call them, separating cords to keep people from going from the table and just cutting across, kind of along the idea of a fence to keep that from happening, which is something we talked about a little while ago.
Right.
But those don't appear either in the video or in the pictures from the night of the folk festival.
Right.
That
Again-
certainly might go a long way to preventing a problem in the future.
Right.
The other thing too, in looking at the video and looking at the pictures as well, you know, I know that 4-foot area really has to be a straight shot. It can't be an angle and somebody has to go right and then turn left to get around
Right.
something. I don't think it's that complicated.
Yeah, no, I don't either.
It shouldn't be, and I think that would go a long way to resolving the problem. Captain Kennedy, is that fair to say, do you think?
I think so. I think there's a miscommunication prior to the
I'm sorry, do you mind standing to the speaker?
Prior to the commencement of the folk festival, I had reviewed the outdoor permits, the seating arrangements that I got from Sue DeMari over at DPD, and the Mambo Grills, the seating arrangement that I have has tables pertinent to the building. There's nothing that, in that plan that she provided me, and that may very well have changed, but there's nothing in the document package that I have indicating that they would be able to seat people on the edge of the curb there where they had them and have that walkway down the middle, so to speak.
Yeah, the walkway actually is down the middle.
Yeah.
So that's where it's supposed to be.
Right, but, you know, again, the information I've been provided, and it may not be accurate, it may not be up to date, the information that I have is that that's not allowable as far as their license goes.
Well, their license was granted, I stand corrected on that. Their license was granted with that down the middle. So I stand corrected on that. And I think I want to say one thing about this. I think that, I think you put it very properly, Counselor, okay? But I think also, you know, you should understand that we're sitting here, we're watching him. He thinks it's funny. You know, he's joking. And you know what? You can't help it. You get your back up because, you know, everything is always, when we give one-day licenses, I try to tell people, you know, it's your responsibility. It's their responsibility. If a police officer comes on the premises and says, you know, this is what you should be doing, that's what you do. You argue the issue later. But for that point in time, you don't stand up and fight with the guy. He's not there. It's not a debate. In his heart of hearts, he was doing what he thought was right and what he thought was the best in public safety. And certainly, we all know that the Folk Festival drags in so many people from out of town with out-of-town ideas and, you know, I'm away from home for a weekend, so watch out, because I'm coming to town, you know? And and our police department puts up with it. We're the ones that have to police it. So I think myself, much more than a communication problem between the police and the owners of the grill, it's probably an attitude problem. A little bit of respect goes a long, long way. Our commission has never been in the, you know, we don't want to put anybody out of business. We want to see more businesses open in downtown Lowell. I mean, the outdoor cafes are a wonderful idea. They add a wonderful atmosphere. But in a situation where you've got so many people coming to a community, The police department doesn't have the time, nor should they have the inclination to stand there arguing with an owner. The simple thing for the police department is to close this down. It's done for the night. I'm not standing here policing you all night long. So,
If
you
if
know,
I could,
that's my take on it. I just don't think they're taking this thing.
No,
They're not willing to accept that responsibility and say, gee, you know, I just might have done something wrong.
Mr. Chairman, I think they are taking it very seriously. You know, these two people are good standing members of our community. They're volunteers. Frankie served on the Race Relations Board here in the city, the Citizens Advisory Board for Federal Funding. She's the Vice President of the Downtown Business, Lowell Business Association. Matt's a choir director at one of our parishes here. They're involved in our community. The last thing they want to have is a adversarial relationship with the police officers. You know, they know the job that they have to do, and they're also trying to keep a business alive too. And I think, unfortunately, as we said earlier, I think, you know, miscommunication might have reared its ugly head here, and people got a little too sensitive. You're absolutely right. That needs to stop, and I think Matt and Frankie would be the first to say that, you know, they're willing to work with anybody as professionals. They just want to be treated as professionals also.
Sergeant, anything you want to add?
You know, I want to add that I haven't done anything with the owner in the past, and we even went to the extent about 2 Friday evenings ago that we took a measuring stick and we went outside and I showed him exactly where his seats had to be and where his tables had to be. I think he understood what he has to do now, and I don't foresee a problem in the future. I will continue to monitor the situation, if that will please the commission.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, ready for a motion?
Yep.
I make a motion to reconsider our vote from 2 weeks ago. And a motion that, for today's hearing, we take no further action on the matter. However, I just want to advise counsel to advise his clients that next year, you know, certainly we're going to consider all these things. I don't mean that to say
No.
we're going to have a problem with the license. I don't mean that at all. It's just a matter of if there's a problem in the intervening year, you know, certainly this should serve as a matter of a verbal warning to your clients, even though we're taking no formal action for the file, at least from the standpoint of my motion, that, you know, that certainly would be considered by us in the future. I think knowing where the tables and chairs have to be, putting up those little separators or dividers will go a long way, as Sergeant Trudell said, to making sure that everybody understands clearly what the 4-foot section is. So my motion now on the present matter is to take no further action on it.
I'll second that motion. You got a big weekend coming up in Lowell this weekend. Isn't this the Ribs and Blues? And you're going to have a lot of people from out of town, people that come here for the festival or whatnot. I'm sure they're going to invade the downtown area. You know? I hope you make $1 million from it. I genuinely mean that. But I would like to be sure that we don't see you back here again. I'll second that motion. All in favor, say yes.
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 Thank you, counsel.
Thank you, thank you.
Anything else? Anything else? Anything under old business? Yeah. No, we send it. Yeah.
Rescinded.
Yeah.
All set?
All set?
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded. All in
Yes.
favor, say yes. Yes.